is traditionally about the budget, which Rosemary is going to talk about in detail, but I want to shout out to Troy Eckfelter, our trustee, who brought forward the suggestion about broadening some of the board forms to some of the other content and issues that the board is also dealing with in addition to finance. So thank you to Troy. I just want to point out on the screen that we have 7 trustees. The bylaws changed that from 9 to 7 or 9 a couple of years ago. And we also have a secretary of the board and a treasurer who are appointed, who are non-trustee, valuable members of our team. So I've been your president since July. I've been on the board since last year. I'm listening and learning, and I'm grateful for this experience today. I did put our mission on the first slide. My experience has been that sometimes we get into the nitty-gritty of what we all do to run our church, to facilitate the things we need to get done, and sometimes we can lose sight of the bigger picture of the life. And so I'm so grateful this morning. I took just a moment to look out at the leaves. When I came this morning, it was quiet. And, you know, our mission is to care for one another, to search for truth and meaning, to act for justice, and to celebrate the spirit of life, which is why we do all the things that we do here. I'm going to just start with a few policy updates that the board is or has recently worked on. The first one is the construction and maintenance policy, which was passed this summer. Russ Madsen was instrumental in this. This policy, in summary, really talks about the need for compliance with codes and standards for all the work that is done here at UUCD. That sounds like a kind of basic idea. I did hear a story about a UU congregation in southeast Wisconsin recently. They had an elevator in their facility, and the contractor at one point disabled the safety latch for the elevator, and there was a terrible accident with a severe injury as associated with that. The insurance for the church did not pay for that injury because the elevator was out of compliance, and that congregation lost their building. Their building. So compliance with codes and standards is critical for our community, and thank you to Ross for engineering that policy. The second one is the endowment funds application process. This is totally done by the endowment committee and Jim Seitz. They have a very clear process now for application for endowment funds and an application form. And so if you're wanting that, if your committee or your group is looking for endowment funds, contact Jim for the process information and for the application. The third one there is the safe congregations policy. The board will be looking at this month. Shout out to John Larson and this Safer Congregations group for initiating this. This policy mostly has to do with vulnerable folks in our community, like children and vulnerable adults, and outlines in detail safety precautions for those vulnerable populations. If you are wondering, like I was, about why there are little tapes on the bathroom doors in one of the restrooms that prop open the door, that is to comply with the Safe Congregations policy. Children who need help in the bathroom with an adult must have the door open. And you can disable those little things that I find a little bit annoying, but now that I understand the reason for them, if it prevents one episode of abuse or mistreatment, I am happy to unlatch that and relatch that door. I just want to point out too, the nursery school, of course, we all know this. We share the building with the nursery school, and they are our collaborators. They provide a significant amount of our operating budget for our community. The last policy there is the UUCD Sunday guest speaker policy. Amy Brooks crafted this to identify speaking fees for different types of folks who come to our community and speak, whether they're ordained UU ministers or ministers in the community or guest speakers of some sort. So that will help us standardize our honorariums and helps organize when we have guest speakers, how that process is laid out. So that's kind of what we've been doing for policy updates. Any questions or comments about that?
Good work.
Thank you.
A really good idea.
Thank you. Okay.
Everyone's giving a lot of unanimous applause. For the sake of online attendees, if you do have a question, I'll pass this mic around. All right.
Great.
Was explained well.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm clear.
And nothing online.
Okay, thank you. So the next slide talks about capital needs prioritization. This slide basically is a prioritization list that the board is looking at this month. You can read it there, but these are kind of criteria that we are going to use to prioritize updates for a building. The first one, of course, is maintaining compliance with existing codes, equipment, grounds and systems, ensuring safety for all using our facility, upgrading and replacing existing equipment and materials as necessary. Is our building 18 years old now?
2004.
2004. Oh, okay, 21 years old. 2008. Okay.
2008.
Okay. So kind of old.
No.
Kind of old. I should preface that. I mean, many buildings are 100 years old, right? Yeah, but old enough so that things need replacing, maintenance, improvement, those kinds of things. So expenditures then to prevent damage to the building and grounds, expenditures consistent with our green sanctuary is number 5, and then expenditures that enhance the use of our facility, like aesthetics or the experience of our facility for our members and guests. Peter Drockman has been working in the last 9 months, here to help with identifying and doing some of the work on some of this. We are replacing the east door of the building, which is rusted through. We are replacing the carbon monoxide sensors in the garage, which are non-functional. We are having some HVAC folks look at the air ducts and water and soil presence in those ducts with some rusting and deterioration. We have replaced 4 of our 11 furnaces. I just received word from Kathy Stinnett before she went on vacation that we have a furnace that is cracked. So just updating people on where some of those things are in our building. I want to shout out to Barb Monty, to Koresh, to David Broadwell, to the entire outdoor sanctuary, which does work all around our building, for all the great volunteer work that has been done to keep our building and grounds beautiful. Since I have been on the board, I've kind of looked at other faith communities' properties, which are weedy or kind of sad looking. If you go outside today, this place is astounding. It is just beautiful. It is an outdoor sanctuary for sure. Yeah. Any questions or comments about that?
You're getting a big round of applause, and as a parent of a preschooler here, I know that they heavily utilize and appreciate all of the good work on Wednesdays that everyone puts into. I get photos every week of people out there exploring the woods. Yeah.
Great. I see.
I'm wondering where the funds for the capital fund are coming from. I know that we have regular donations to the operating fund, but how is the capital fund maintained?
Like the building.
Yeah, right. So for non-accounting people, capital funds are physical goods. The operating fund is the salaries, the insurance, the day-to-day expenses. I don't have a lot of good detail for you. Sarah.
I have more of the history.
Hi. So we have funds that maintain certain aspects of the building, but right. So, but we also have like a building reserve. Thank you.
Yeah.
The building reserve is for one of the uses of the building reserve is for some of the capital needs, the things that aren't budgeted for in regular maintenance that either we choose to make an improvement on or purchase in addition to make some kind of enhancement. And one of the sources of that is, each year there is a piece that is budgeted to go in there when we can afford to. And in some years when there has been a building surplus, or when there has been a budget surplus at the end of the year, which we have had a number of years, incidentally, some or all of that, it gets decided by the board, but some or all of that goes into that building reserve fund, because that's a great way to ensure that the funds that are on top of what we've budgeted for are put back into the building, and that's one really nice way to be able to do that.
Is there a budget line item for the capital fund?
There is, and it varies by amount, based on the sort of overall needs for the operating expenses. And when we can put additional funds into that, that's one of the ways that it grows and is maintained. Great question.
Thank you.
And I'll just make a comment, in finance council and stuff, in formulating the 2025-26 budget, we do realize that we need to look at that capitalization and building reserve fund and make sure that we are starting to work towards building it to a stronger level, because there was a few things that we were making sure to pay off or that we had to do for maintenance. And so those funds do need to eventually go back into that so there's a concern there that we're working on.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions about that? I think you can see just from the description that maybe we will need a capital fund event in future. We're not sure yet, but that's possible. One thing that is going to be happening in the future, not today, not this week, but in the near future, is the contract to call process. So that is, Amy, our minister, is a contracted minister, and she was hired for a 2-year contract, and the board extended that contract last year for a 3rd year. And that is to allow the congregation and Amy to go through a discernment process about whether or not we would call her as a permanent minister to our congregation. So just some high level, just basic information is that the board appoints a 5 to 7 member task force to establish the timeline and the process for that contract to call. There will be small group meetings that all of us will be participating in to assess the ministry of the congregation with a focus on our mission, vision, and goals. And then a decision to offer a call to Amy or not will be made by the congregation as a vote, as a congregational meeting, according to our bylaws, and that will be a paper ballot vote in near future. All right. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rosemary unless, yes. Yes, thank you.
We're in the initial start of doing a solar backup.
Yep.
And how is that going to play with the capital budget, our needs for capital and the need for solar storage?
So the Finance Council and the board considered the funding for this project, which the battery is about $47,000. And I think Beth Tamminen, who's here, has been working on this project, but the board elected not to allocate funds for this for a variety of reasons. One is that it is not essential to the operation of the solar panels, okay? And the price tag for the battery was high, and as you'll find out, we have some operating cost issues coming up for our congregation, and an ongoing assessment process of our building, and needs for funding some of these and replacing some of these capital expenses like the e-store, other things that we're kind of in the process of gathering information and assessments for. Sarah?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that one of the factors that impacts that is, and I don't know how much this has come up with Beth or with anybody, but that the solar batteries are a technology that is like yes, we're kind of beyond beta testing, so it's kind of in a very, very early generation, and it is predicted in a number of sectors that this technology, as even in just like a year or two, is going to be substantially less expensive, and the technology will be sort of more advanced, and it will be it'll be cheaper and better able to plug in. Oh, hi, Beth. Good.
Yeah, I don't totally agree with that because as with the solar panels, the panels are one thing, the installation, the electrical work, a lot of the cost is not directly in the purchase of a battery, but related kind of things. Yeah, we, of the $47,000, federal and state rebate should cover about 22, and we have a grant request in for 6,000, that we have a pretty good chance on. I think that's about it. So it leaves about 20,000. We are in process, and Sally is asking for donations apart from this. So we are looking at whether we can do this. We do have a working relationship with the electrician who installed our solar panels, who would be the one who would be doing the battery, and he also is committed to something relatively new, which is lowering demand. There's a high demand charge on the bill. About a third of our bill every month has to do with the top 15 minutes of usage. And so he can lower that with the battery, and he's interested in doing that. So I think over a number of years, we would get it paid back now. So we are not using a lithium. This is not a lithium ion battery. It's a lithium phosphate iron battery, which is already a newer technology and much less inclined to it burning up. So yeah, you know, I still think it's important myself. I would say one reason that I would say in regard to money, and I defer to the board on this, but $12,600 of our building fund right now is from the rebate that we got from our solar panels. So that's going into the other needs of the building, but doesn't mean if we have a little gap, I won't ask the endowment for some help.
Thank you. I just want to stress that when the board said no to this, it was just a matter of funds that we have available and needs that are safety, replacement, basic needs, okay? The solar battery is not out of line with our values at all. But we need to be careful stewards of our fiscal resources, and those are the factors that went into that decision. Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, we have solar and we still get an occasional modest bill for electrical use, you know, like it doesn't, overcast days and things, you don't make the power. So I'm wondering, math-wise, do we make an excess of power, or will we be buying electricity from Minnesota Power to charge the battery?
I don't know.
The battery will charge from the solar panels when there is excess power. What I didn't understand, there's a lot to understand, is but at any given moment, on a sunny day, the panels are producing more than we use, even though over the course of a year it produces about 41% of our usage. But at any given moment, there's extra, and that either goes back to the grid and is sold back to Minnesota Power and reduces our bill there, or it would go into our battery. In this case, that's where the charge from the battery would come, from those times when there's excess, when it's sunny. And anytime it's sunny, generally there's some power going into, there would probably be some excess.
Yeah, so we either sell that or
Or keep it
keep it here.
in the,
So you would, you're getting your discount a lot from selling it back.
exactly, but you're also not paying, but at the same time, you're not paying for that power, you know, yeah, okay, we can talk about more details.
Yeah, well,
But,
you
yeah.
get the point.
Thank you both. I see a hand back here.
Will we be able to get back to the budget this morning?
Yes.
I have a comment from somebody who's online, and I want to share that, but not in this.
Yes, that is
Perfect.
next. What a great segue. Thank you, Peter.
We're just gonna set up the slide here of my notes so that you can all read and follow along as I speak. Don't worry.
I'm gonna zoom in, don't worry.
See it at the top.
There we go.
Most all will be able to be seen.
We'll just do a little scroll at some point.
As I said, how I write things more in words than numbers, because sometimes, you know, everybody looks at things differently, and sometimes words are very effective. So I also divided in the accomplishments we've had for the first quarter so far, and then later current and in process and future planning, so that we can consider those things. So our accomplishments, UUCD no longer has any outstanding loans. Woo! So we are debt free. So that's a good accomplishment.
I'm sorry, the members that.
Is that member loans as well?
Yeah, the member loans were paid up or taken care of. Some chose to forgive, which is great. You know, it was very generous and a wonderful experience to witness. So that's why we are debt free. We no longer have any member loans out there. Pledge income is at 90% of budget at the end of the first quarter. We contributed $2,200 from our seeds endowment to migrant justice. And then we are on track for our UUA share, fair share. So current and in process and future planning activities.
Scroll down.
Yeah, so then maybe it'll go to all the things and that.
Oh,
There we go.
oh, you,
There we go. A little too far. Okay.
That's a two-year.
So, current pledge dollars and of 231,000, that's what we managed to earn, is 77% of our proposed budget amount of 300,000. We've thus far received 45% of the pledges at this point for the year. The future 55% of our year of pledges currently has to cover 75% of the remaining fiscal year. If all current pledges are received, we will experience a contribution income shortage of 69,000. Now, some things that have occurred and will be occurring, UUA health insurance will increase 19.5% starting January 1st, 2026, and adds an unbudgeted amount of 15,300. Also, January 1st, a change is coming up in Minnesota Paid Leave Act, and that expense of 0.44% will be added to our budget per requirements for Minnesota for all employees who have earned a minimum of $5,600 in their employment with us. Utility expenses are normal for this time of year with an increase in water and sewer. We figured that might have been because there was a lot more done with our outdoors and we didn't have a whole lot of rain this year. It's been a little drier of a year, so it can be expected. Insurance, fire, safety inspections, some communication, digital contract expenses has increased. Examples like what Blanche said, that would be an example of an increased expense there. And then we've been discussing building maintenance needs and had a list developed and costs are being researched, and so part of our whole process lately has been to make sure we prioritize those needs, like safety, making sure we're in compliance, and then going from there so that we can make sure that we're maintaining everything, you know, for the building and for our congregation. And then finally, a special congregational meeting will be held November 16th after the service for dialogue and potential remedies to these new things that are coming up, the health insurance, our maintenance prioritization, whether we can find ways to have more pledges coming in that will help with the shortfall. We are planning a meeting to discuss all these things and help us get, keep on track for our total 2025-2026 year. And Giger, is this the time for your comment?
Yes.
I want to make sure to address that so that way we can all comment on everything that needs to be commented.
So, self-disclosure, I did not hear the first part of the presentation, but I received in my notes an online for the budget forum. If I had one overall feedback, and this person clearly was hearing whatever got said. People in a budget meeting want to see numbers, maybe not budget line by line, but aggregate by category. For example, capitalization categories should have expected expenditures. Do you understand?
I believe so. I mean, I definitely have been learning how to formulate my style and how to do those. And I think probably how I would remedy that in the future is better preparation, maybe asking my fellow teammates to help me develop a chart on those things and a slide.
Okay, so over the years, we have ongoing preferences. We have diverse diversity in our congregation, and some people are kind of allergic to numbers, and other people can take those numbers and grasp what they say, what they're telling us. So I guess my response partly to this is, at that November 16th meeting, we need ahead of time to consider the kinds of numbers that we might want to be prepared with. So, yeah, but thank you, all of you sitting up there, for the work you do.
I want to start by saying thank you for paying attention to building and those needs. And I'm reminded that, where do I need to go so I don't do that? Rent repair is, that is going to vote November 4th, and we are a landlord. So I don't know if the board or anyone has had any conversations about what that might have as an impact. If it passes, renters, if they don't get resolution in 14 days from their landlord, the UUCD, that they could literally take half of their rent for the month and make their own repair. So just be advised that that might need to be a conversation if you want a little more conversation with that. I've been a bit involved on both sides of it. I've gone to tenant meetings and passionate about doing what's best for renters in Duluth.
Thank you. I think that's important to know. We do have a tenant, so to speak, the nursery school. We have a board liaison to the nursery school, and that is Sarah Monahan. And I also want to comment that David Broadwell and Chuck, thank you. Brain, spent a long time laying some flooring in the back hallway, which was unfinished, and the nursery school had requested this specifically. The east door is the door also that the nursery school uses, and Peter Drockman is replacing that steel door. But that's important. We want to maintain good relationships with the nursery school, just because it's the right thing to do and also because it's important. Thank you, Barb.
Excellent. We have Amy here, and I see a couple other hands.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I just have a point of clarification for the figures that were just named. The increase in health insurance next year will raise the premium to that $15,000 figure, of which a little over 2,000 is unlimited. So there's around, it's already budgeted for around 13,000. So it's the difference between the current figure and the increase. It's not a total additional extra 15,000. If our health insurance fund was requiring 30,000 per year of congregations, then we would very much be looking elsewhere for health insurance.
Thank you. And we actually have an online question. I see two other hands here, but since it's connected right to what Amy shared, Eric writes, health insurance, are we looking at alternative offers, plans, change deductibles? This might continue year after year.
The UUA provides health insurance for employees. To my understanding, we're not looking for other health insurance vehicles. You may be experiencing this as individuals right now yourselves with health insurance premiums or different plans dropping people or adding people. This is a very tough time across the country for healthcare expenditures. But I think the board will be mindful of this. If it looks like the UUA health insurance is out in left field, we could look at other options. Thank you.
I wanted to ask about, it seems that the pledge amounts are down significantly. And I wonder if people are being called and asked about this and asked to bring their pledges up to date, or what the plan is for that.
Yes, so the pledges, we are gonna, that's partly why we're having this congregational meeting. And part of that will be to understand what's happened and the factors that are going into it, and then to look at potential remedies. certainly we're going to need to look at folks who haven't pledged this year and did so in the past and make contact with them. We don't have specific meeting was on Tuesday of this week. But I'm grateful that we're looking at this now, mid-year, before June 30th of this year.
If I remember from the screenshot, it appeared that pledges are amounting to roughly 2/3 of the operating budget. And I guess I'm wondering, let's see, pledge income, okay, 90% of the budget at the end of this quarter or whatever. I'm wondering, I know we have income from the university nursery school. I expect we have income from renting out social hall and other rentals. And I'm wondering, how all of that shakes down either in terms of percentages or in terms of meeting our, is it anticipated to cover our total budget? How does all of that shake down? And again, as Igor was saying, if we had the numbers in front of us, that might give us that information.
Right. So
thank you for all of this. It looks all very, very doable for this congregation. That's wonderful.
Do you want me to do that one or want me to do that? Okay. So I'm not a numbers person, I'm not an accountant, but there are lots of real competent people who are. We will have specific numbers, so in November. And we do, this Finance Council does look at the numbers of all of the details every single month. What made my heart beat a little faster attending Finance Council was that pledge dollars of $231,000 is only 77% of the budgeted amount of 300. So almost a third is not there, okay? And so that is a significant amount, and the congregation needs to know that, and we need to make some remedial adjustments now, before the end of the fiscal year.
How much of that is already coming in for
The pledge.
Just really quick, just for the sake of recording.
Just looking for, some of that is, I assume, is covered by the university nursery school, or I guess it's not, because we don't have the numbers, it's not clear if the university nursery school income is rolled into that 2/3.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Eager. No, sorry, that's why.
As a right of membership in this congregation, voting membership, you have the right to ask for financial reports. What? Oh, you're talking about my costume. Okay.
The online
Yes.
people.
For the most recent Finance Council meeting, I provided annual reports of income and expense, kind of, reports in a condensed version that show numbers, cash flows month by month. And anybody who wants to look at some numbers can ask for those reports at a time being.
I see a couple other hands here, we'll try to go through them all, go first here. Yeah.
I just wanted to let people know that in the past, we have had, the reason we have quarterly meetings is because we need to stay on track. It's not uncommon for this situation to be at this time, and something always happens to come through. So If you get a little anxious and wanna make a pledge or wanna nudge your buddy to make a pledge, great, go for it, because we can always find really good ways to spend that money. But also don't panic, because somehow or other, we get the COVID money or we get the rebate from the solar panels, or sadly to say, a staff position goes unfilled for a period of time. And that's often been the budget surplus in the past. But so to go ahead and increase your pledge and encourage other people to pledge, and get involved in the finances, but also don't panic.
Right, and I don't wanna give the impression that we are panicking. No. This is just a problem to solve. I just heard it out. Yeah. Oh, okay, sorry to have that happen. This is just a problem to solve, and we're gonna work on it together, right?
Thank you so much. This is Kathy Helzer here for the people at home that can't see me. So, two things. A quick question. Do we know what percentage of our budget is actually, goes in as a part of that income from the nursery school? I think that was part of do we know what?
I would have to
Ballpark.
review our reports to give you that actual percentage. But it is a specific line item, as well as a line item for what we make for coffee, what we make for our brunches, what we make for our building rental. Those are all also considered in our budget making process prior to voting. So we already knew there was a trend that our building rental for events was down. We accounted for that potentially, that we don't get as much income from that area. But that's something that we could make sure that we create a chart so you know what percentage of our income is coming currently from that. Pardon?
Most of it.
Yeah.
It's most of it. No, from pledges.
Oh, so the majority of the
And-
budget is from
Yes.
pledges, not from all these other things.
And pledges is considered separate from all those other sources, whether it be a COVID grant that comes in or whatnot, those are all separate things.
The only other thing I wanna say is that Gene DeRider and I are picture people, so we're all for the pictures. The numbers are good, and we appreciate the Giger and the numbers people understand what they mean. But we're good with words and pictures, because we're elementary school people. And the very last thing I'm gonna say is that before I knew any of this, but I'm still on board, that Blanche recruited myself and a couple of others to co-chair the pledge drive the next time around. We're totally fired up about it. I keep saying the last thing, but Sally Munger wanted to know if people were calling to follow up. Sally Munger is a very good caller.
Yes, she
To
is.
get money
Yes,
from
she
people.
is.
I'm just saying, she
Yes.
can call everyone, but
Good
she could,
suggestion.
she could maybe head up a team. is what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes.
I think the feedback I'm hearing about from both numbers people and things, I just need to to coin a accounting phrase, bring my slide into more balance.
Thank you. So I'm just maybe gonna wrap up.
Sounds great.
Okay, I'm gonna just switch back to my slides, and I wanna shout out the Sally Munger Energy.
Thank you for me too, I've got quite a bit of
So this was a little bit different board forum than we've had before. I'm interested in feedback about this process. If you like it, don't like it.
Love it.
Okay, oh nice, at least one person loves it. So that's just a little bit more information about the operating budget, but we've already talked a little bit in detail about the narrative because of all of your good questions. So I'll just finish with saying that Coffee with the Board is the third Sunday of the month after service. I'm trying to find a good way, a balloon or a sign or something cool that would make folks want to stop by. But every month you have an opportunity to talk to board members about whatever you would like to discuss. And I'd just like to end with this quote from Maya Angelou, which is on a refrigerator magnet that I took from the visitors table. And I love it. We need joy as we need air. We need love as we need water. We need each other as we need the earth we share. Thank you so much.